Major League Baseball season is starting to wind down. The regular season portion. So the power rankings from Matt Snyder look like this. No changes at the top with Milwaukee in its familiar perch in the penthouse. Phillies last week overtook the Dodgers as betting favorites to win the World Series. And things are tightening up in the American League East and Central. The biggest change in the power rankings and standings have been the battle between Cleveland and Detroit. What was once a foregone conclusion at a 59-34 start, Tigers have just gone 26-37. All of a sudden, just a one-game lead over the Guardians. The head-to-head series starting today. Astros, Guardians, that race potentially could be Detroit as well. Astros, I can tell you, don't hold any of the head-to-head tiebreakers. So let's bring in Matt Snyder, puts our power rankings together, and Julian McWilliams to offer his thoughts, agreements, or disagreements. I'm Tommy Tran. We're going to get to that AL Central showdown in just a second. But if we go to the East, Matt, a little more top-heavy with your top two teams, Blue Jays and Yankees with a week to go. Give me the lowdown on how you think it's all going to play out here.
Well, the Blue Jays are playing with fire. I mean, they just had that four-game losing streak where they were outscored 28-3. Did not look like a division champion type ball club at all. But they salvaged that win Sunday. They still have a two-game lead. They do have the tiebreaker over the Yankees. So ultimately, I think they get this thing done. They have 6 home games left. They don't have to go on the road anymore. They're 50-25 in Rochester. So even if they just go 3-3, that probably does it. But they're probably going to do something like 4-2 and close this thing out. But it is like the Yankees definitely look, if you just eyeball that, it looks like it's a much easier schedule with 2 non-contenders. And, you know, the Blue Jays need to deal with the Red Sox. But like I said, the Blue Jays are 50-25 at home. They have the tiebreaker. They have the 2-game lead. I think the Blue Jays get it done. But as I said, they are playing with fire right now.
Yeah, I think that the tiebreaker is huge when you look at this race, right? I think it's so close. And I don't think that any team is particularly playing all that well. And I know they have Boston coming up. And look, Boston has not been playing well, right? I know they were able to win the series against the Tampa Bay Rays last night. I mean, even though they lost last night, but they still won the series. But if you're looking at them in their totality, they're not playing well. Garrett Crochet has just been okay his last few starts. They don't have a number 4 or 5 starter. So that might not come into play a little bit in this series. Their bullpen has sort of been all over the place. So I expect the Blue Jays to be able to take care of business. And again, the tiebreaker I think is really, really huge going into this because all these teams are just so close.
Yep, Blue Jays will have, of course, the Red Sox series that you mentioned at home and then at home to the Rays as you see the power rankings there involving teams 4, 5, and even 9 if you're going to add Boston into the mix. Let's get to 8 and 11, which is Cleveland and Detroit. Was once a 14-game division, Matt, is down to 1. A big week for both teams, and I don't know if you're a big believer in momentum because everybody in Detroit saying, oh, we still have everything in front of us. Oh, A.J. Hinch saying, we still have everything to play for here. Yeah. But what are you thinking about these two?
Not big on momentum because they like to say momentum is the next day's starting pitcher. And the Tigers actually have Skubal lined up for Tuesday, and then they'll get Skubal again on Sunday if they need him, and they have that 1-game lead. But I am a big believer in vibes, and the vibes around the Tigers right now are absolutely wretched. Meanwhile, the Guardians are riding high. They feel like they're playing on house money at this point because everybody counted them out because they should have been out of this. Look, does anybody remember the 1951 Dodgers-Giants race? Of course not, but if we've heard of the Giants win the pennant, the Bobby Thompson shot heard around the world, that was the biggest blown division lead in baseball history. This one would be bigger, a 14-game lead. This thing should have been over weeks ago. I remembered in the first half of the season, I had the Tigers number 1 a few times, and we started talking about if the Tigers would be there the rest of the season or if I would have something like the Tigers and Dodgers would be the only 2 number 1 teams. Now they're not even in the top 10. If you're the Tigers, you have to fall back on, we've got Skubal twice, we have the 1-game lead, but the vibes are awful. The Guardians are at home in this Tigers series. And the Guardians have a 6-4 lead in the head-to-head. So as long as they don't get swept by the Tigers here, they'll have the tiebreaker.
For me, you know who the Guardians have? Jose Ramirez. And I think Jose Ramirez is one of the best players in baseball, if not probably one of the best players, the best player at his position. He hits. He plays defense. He steals bags. He hits homers. The Detroit Tigers do not have a guy like that. Sure, you talk about Tarek Skubal. But on the position player side, a guy you can say every day, come on, get on my back, let's do this. Who are you looking at? Riley Green? Gleyber Torres? I'm having problems figuring out who they really have that they can say like that. And again, as I've said with the Red Sox before, the Detroit similarly has never been in this situation. They were the good story last year, right? Where they were like, all of a sudden they come onto the scene and it's like, wow, you beat the Houston Astros in a good series. Good for you. You guys weren't supposed to be here. Now when you have a 15-game lead, you're supposed to be here. And so when you're being the hunted, it's a completely different story when you're doing the hunting. And so I think that has played into their psyche a little bit. The success rate of them not having success has played into their psyche a little bit. And man, this is going to be a heck of a 6-game stretch that they have coming up.
So whoever doesn't win the division can fall back on a wild card spot. And then, Julian, you had mentioned already Boston. And then there's Houston. So those three playing for two, essentially, 1 game apart here. Astros just got swept by the Mariners. What are you thinking about Houston? Because they don't have any of the tiebreakers against the other two.
Yeah, I think Houston's in a world of trouble for me because I expected them to be able to win this series this weekend against the Mariners because the Mariners have sort of been a team that I've necessarily haven't really believed in because every time I believe in them, it seems that they always seem to find a way to falter. But look, them getting swept in that series is huge. And keep in mind, they don't have Yordan Alvarez. That's a huge loss to them. And Jose Altuve is not the Jose Altuve of old. And they also don't have Alex Bregman. So that winning pedigree that we've talked about all of a sudden all the time, it's gone. So this week coming up is going to be huge for them, but I truly think they're in a world of trouble.
Matt, let me go to you with the National League wildcard scenario where we do have 3 teams. It's the Reds, the Mets, and the Diamondbacks, and right now, Cincy in pole position.
Yeah, first of all, credit to the Diamondbacks for hanging around here after being sellers at the trade deadline. They're a game back, but they have to deal with the Dodgers and Padres this week. Both of those 2 teams have something to play for. I think that the Diamondbacks probably fade away. Then again, I would have thought that the entire second half, so maybe I'm wrong. But I really think if you look at this, gosh, I can't believe this because the entire second half I've been saying the Mets are going to do it. They're still going to hold on to the spot. But if you look at the schedule right now, the Reds have 3 against the Pirates, and then they'll have 3 in Milwaukee where the Brewers will have nothing at all to play for. The Brewers will have sealed up the #1 seed throughout the playoffs by then. Meanwhile, the Mets go to the Cubs, who lost 4 in a row in Cincinnati, so surely want to get right before they go to the playoffs. And then the Mets go to Miami to face the Marlins, who are really feisty right now. The Marlins have won 10 of their last 11. They're technically still alive. So this looks like it's going to start kind of swinging toward the Reds here. And I got to say, I don't think the Reds are going to advance if they do get to the wild card round. But going to Dodger Stadium, having absolutely nothing to lose, where everybody thinks they're going to get swept, putting Hunter Green up there in game 1, the Reds might well steal that thing, and then you never know. So it's getting really, really interesting with Terry Francona's Reds right now.
Bunched up in the standings and bunched up in Matt Snyder's power rankings, 13, 14, and 16, respectively. Guys, certainly appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on HQ to talk about Snyder's power rankings, which, again, you can catch in its totality, CBSSports.com. Just 3 games on the slate today. Padres, though, with a win, can get in. Good pitching matchup with Peralta and Pivetta. You're talking about a 17-game winner going up against a 13-game winner at Petco.